Hello, thrill seekers. I wanted to talk to you today about a couple of books. Actually, I'm going to only talk about one of these, but I'm going to show them both to you right now. Let's see. The first one, God, this is all backwards. The first one, Kobun's Talks on the Heart Sutra, that's the one I want to talk about today. And the second one is called Kobun's Teaching on Platform Sutra. And these are both available as free downloads from the website of Jikoji, which is the temple that Kobun started up near Santa Cruz. However, unfortunately, when I went on Jikoji's website just now trying to find the links, I couldn't find the links. But I found the direct links by just putting in the titles, Kobun's Talks on the Heart Sutra and Kobun's Teachings on Platform Sutra, and then they came up. So I'll see if I could put the links below for you people watching on YouTube and Patreon, but that's how you can find them. So they are talks by Kobun Chino Otogawa Roshi, and who is he? Well, regular viewers will know, but some of you might be tuning in newly and won't know. He was my teacher's teacher. He was my first Zen teacher's teacher. I never actually met Kobun. I spoke to him on the phone once for about 2.5 seconds. He called and I recognized his voice, and this is when I was living with Tim, my first Zen teacher, and he asked to speak to Tim, and I yelled and said, "Tim, Kobun's on the phone." That was my conversation with Kobun Chino. I feel really bad. He passed away in, I think it was 2003. It was in the early parts of the 2000s, so I didn't get to meet him. But there's a few things of his available in print, not much. There's a book called Embracing Mind, which I have referenced here a lot, and I've never seen it in a store. It looks like a kind of thing you have to download. I believe Amazon carries it, though, so you should be able to find it there. There are a bunch of different things, including the entirety of Embracing Mind I have found online. Don't ask me where, I don't remember, but I found it as a PDF online somewhere under a different title. But it's the same stuff as that's in the book, so go look for it yourself. See if you can find it, and it's an adventure. So those things are left over, and there's a few YouTube videos and things, but not a lot. Tim told me once that Kobun had told his students that they'd wanted to put out a book of Kobun's talks for a long time, and he said, "You can put one out after I'm dead," and which they did. After he died, they did put out a book of his talks. So I'm just going to read you a couple of things from his Heart Sutra book, which actually I haven't completely finished this, but I'm pretty close to finishing it, so that's good enough, I think. And just read you. This is from the introduction to the Heart Sutra, just a couple of paragraphs that I thought were nice. Somehow, the nature of a sutra is like a mirror. It is empty, actually, and whoever reads it sees a mirror of their own figure. So the mirror is one of the best metaphors to explain the nature of a sutra. Consciously or unconsciously, the action of reading a sutra contains the courageous mind to face yourself. When you pick up the sutra, there is already a strong inner need to see yourself. It doesn't have the sense of seeking enjoyment, though maybe in a deeper sense there is enjoyment. A sincere interest in your own reality, a clear eye to see your world is necessary. You think, if I have made a mistake, I won't ignore it. Or if I see goodness, I can say to myself, I am good. You see these things without judgment, allowing them to be as they are, keeping a strict attitude. There has to be some kind of tension in the author and in the reader. If the sutra is not written with this attitude, you cannot stand to continue to read, because the tension of the reader and the tension of the author has to come together. If the author wrote each word with a tear, the reader really sees that tear in reading the words. If the author writes with a cigarette in hand, the reader discovers it. This is how we face the sutra. Between the sutra and ourselves, we cannot tell which is new, which is old. Hopefully, we are the same age. If it was written 10 centuries ago, you don't face it as old stuff. You don't read it as a 20th century person. You have to go beyond that sense of old and new. This is a point to test whether you can really meet with yourself and whether you can open to meeting with ancient people. So if you understand the sutra as the footsteps of old people, it is the sound of your footsteps too. In Chinese and Japanese, old points to long, long life, throughout many criticisms and many disastrous occasions. This oldness has the same feeling as old friend. Even if you are 20 years old, you say, "This is my old friend." It has the feeling that this man is closer to me than I am to myself. An old mirror is like that. Instead of writing a new sutra, your own sutra, you read the old sutra. You read it as your sutra. You chant it as your sutra. For this reason, the old manuscript doesn't have a name. It can be anyone's when someone is ready to make it their own. I really like that because that encapsulates a lot of what I felt about, especially about the Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra, as regular viewers know, was the thing that got me started on the path of Zen. I've told this story too many times. Anyway, I was taking a class called Zen Buddhism, and Tim McCarthy, the Kobun student, was the teacher, and he read the Heart Sutra aloud on the first day of the class. It's a very short sutra, and I just had this strong feeling like this is it. This is the thing. This is the one, without any sort of question about it. It was exactly clear that this was the thing, and that set the course for the rest of my life. So it's interesting that the way Kobun puts it, I think, is pretty much how I felt. It wasn't old. It was my sutra. It was a sutra to me. And here's another, this is from a later chapter. The book is very short. The chapters are titled after lines in the Heart Sutra, but here we go. He says, "If I go down the street and yell at people, 'I am the same as the universe,' people will ask, 'Is he crazy?' But what we have to know is, what I actually believe is different from what I am saying. I know that this little body is different from the universe. I am different from the teacup and paper, but when I say I am the same as the teacup and paper, I am saying something which is felt within me, not in the usual way. Another way to say this is, if you move your hand and touch the floor, you are actually feeling yourself, and yet you are feeling everything." I like that one because that ends the chapter there, and I believe all of these chapters were delivered as lectures when he was somewhere in Northern California, I assume. It might say, I don't think it actually says this in the book. It just starts right off with it, doesn't it? Oh, at the Haiku Zendo. I'm not sure where the Haiku Zendo was. Classes on Monday mornings. Angie Bosavian wrote down Kobun's discussions, and then from the tape recordings and her notes, they made this thing. So that's pretty interesting. They just put it together based on these talks. There is one thing in here that's sort of interesting. I'm not going to read it to you, but I think it's real interesting. It's in. It starts on page 29, and as you can see, this is one of the reasons I decided to get it as a book, a printed book, instead of the download, because when you're looking at this on a download, it's really confusing. In fact, it's kind of confusing when you're looking at it in print. But as you can see, there's a column here and a column here. The column here is apparently, as far as I can tell, the lecture, and the column here is kind of an aside that I don't know if he said this on the same day as he delivered this lecture. Maybe that's why it's there. But he's saying, it starts off, "I feel a little sorry, I cannot speak very well today. I called Japan and found out my sister-in-law, my elder brother's wife, finally passed away." So his elder brother's wife had been sick for some time, and she passed away. And he tells a long story that goes on over several pages about her and about their relationship and about her illness and how he'd been with her during this time and so forth. It's pretty interesting and gives you a real sort of human side to all this, so it's not the kind of dry academic commentary that one usually gets. I mean, that's also a good point of this is a lot of times when you get a commentary on the sutras, they're very dry and academic and just kind of tell you, where it was written and how it was written. And some of those are very good. Actually, Red Pine did a really, really good one on the Heart Sutra himself, which is much more detailed than Kobun's talks on the Heart Sutra, and much more academic, and I highly recommend it. This is not like the Red Pine one. This is much more of his feeling. Also, Kobun, his first language was not English, so he kind of tends to go in strange directions, and I, as a person who lived in Japan and spoke to a lot of Japanese people who spoke English, but spoke English like Japanese people, maybe I can follow it a little better than somebody who doesn't have that background, but I don't think it's really that much of a difficulty to follow this. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say about Kobun's talks on the Heart Sutra. So you can download it if you want. I don't get any money from it. Or if you write to Jikoji, they will send you this. You have to. They suggest that you make a donation to them. I forget how much they ask for each one, but if you don't need it in print, you can just get it as a download, so that's fine. I have both. So, that is my talk on Kobun's talks on the Heart Sutra. So, remember that I am supported by your kind donations. That is my onlyest way of making a living these days. That is where all my money comes from, so I really thank you for donating, and if you don't want to donate, you don't have to. Somebody complained in the comments that, I never saw somebody give so many talks about getting donations. Well, I have, because I've looked at a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of them contain a little thing at the end about donations, and so do mine. So I really thank you for supporting me. If you're having trouble financially, though, don't support me. Support yourself, because you are more important than me. But those of you who do donate, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. See you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. I want to get that sock. I want to get that sock. Get that sock. I want to get that sock. Where are you going with that sock? Where are you going with that sock? Hey, Ziggy. Give me that sock. Give me that sock. Give me the sock. Give me the sock. Give me the sock.